course, we're going to start every podcast the way that we always start, and that is by going over what have we been playing lately. So I know Eric's played a game. We'll start with Eric.
Woo,
Since normally Eric, we just kind of gloss over.
Yeah, I played a game.
But he actually played a game. So what's up, Eric?
I played some TMNT Shredder's Revenge Day.
Hell
At lunch, and then when I first got to Nate's here. So
hell yeah, thoughts?
Really good. Yeah, I like it a lot. Some of those challenges are challenging, surprisingly, because you get some of these games like this, and the challenges are just like, yeah, that's funny. But these ones are actually challenging, so it's a good thing to see.
A very good thing to see. Well, so you're having a good time so far.
Yeah. I mean, I've probably only played maybe 2 hours.
Hey, playing is playing. Mike, what have you been playing lately?
Man, I've been playing. I got I think 2 games. 2 games I've been playing this week. I made it to chapter 4 of Xenoblade Chronicles 3, which is
hell yeah.
So far, believe it or not, my top RPG game that I played in my life so far that nothing has been replacing it. It has been Final Fantasy VII, story-wise, mechanics, and everything. Right? Until now, I think. Until now.
Oh boy.
I think Xenoblade is taking the crown. Is taking the crown right now when it comes to
taking the crown from me.
Yeah, and then that one, and also I've been playing Kirby's Buffet Party game.
Kirby's Dream Buffet. Gotcha.
Kirby's Mario Party Buffet.
Ooh, why are we calling it Mario Party Buffet? See, I haven't played it yet, so.
So, picture Mario Party without the board, only the mini games, and a whole bunch of desserts, and then that gives you. Oh, without the characters, just Kirby characters, and then you'll get Kirby's Dream Buffet, but in a good way. In a good way. This is not a bash to the game anyway. I'm actually enjoying it, and then I'm not gonna do a review on it. I'm just gonna tell you it's a great game. Get it? It's $14. You cannot go wrong with it. It's a really super fun game.
Do you know how many games there are in it?
There's a whole bunch of mini games on them. I haven't played all of them. I did a little bit of the solo mode you do online, and then I think there's another mode that but I only did the Royal Battle Royale, which you can do a battle royale online or by yourself with the CPU playing. You can do race. There's 2 types of the races. One that you can get to the end. One that you can eat as much as you can, and then the fattest person wins. Which
nice.
I'm always gonna win.
I don't know.
But yeah, it's a fun game. It's just a fun and hilarious game because at one point you get weighed to see if you're the fattest, and then you see the little fat Kirby there, just all sitting together next to each other. I'm like, I'm the fat. No, I'm the fat. And, that's me in my head. That's what they're saying. But it's a fun game. I recommend it. I really do recommend it. I recommend it in like if you played Kirby in the Forgotten Land, this is a really good addition to it. Like if Kirby in the Forgotten Land had a sidekick, this will be it because the same mechanics apply when it comes to how you move the 3D Kirby. There's also free roam Kirby where you can just roam all around the cake and just have fun and just do whatever, just like bash the cake and stuff, So I can see people having fun just hanging out on the online free roam thing because you just like walk around like but you don't walk, you actually roll like a little ball. That's what you do there. So it's fun. Yeah,
nice.
It's a fun game.
Nice. And shout out to Brian C from the community. He wanted to let you know, Mike, that hey, he feels just like you. His favorite RPG was Final Fantasy X, but now it's Xenoblade Chronicles 3. So
shout out, Brian. Yeah, we feel the same way.
Awesome, there you go. Yeah. You got some backup to your backup. Also want to remind everyone, before I get into what I've been playing lately, that if you would like to support the show, obviously you can super chat during the live show and all that. You can also go support us over on patreon.com/Nintendo Prime for as little as $1 per month. You can also support us by becoming a member on our brand new Nintendo Prime Podcast YouTube channel. We have all the tiers set up for that, and we appreciate all of the support. All of that actually directly goes to supporting the podcast and is separate from the support of the actual channel. I'm actually keeping things separate so we can do things to improve this show with its own revenue stream. All right. That being said,
guys,
what's up?
support the podcast channel. That way, Nate can finally pay Eric.
It's going to be a bit before then, but yes, technically, if the support is high enough, I would pay Eric. You are correct.
You can hire Eric. He deserves it.
I could hire Eric to still do what he always does. All right, be here on Wednesday.
Yep.
See you next Wednesday.
You make enough, and we could really just hire me straight out, and then I'd have plenty of time to game.
Oh man, that would be.
Yeah,
sick.
like,
I can
my
tell you
job,
right
man.
now, if the channel overall made enough money that I could hire Eric full time at his current salary, probably more because I got to provide benefits. But even then, if I could do that, then I can tell you right now, we will have game reviews. We will have all sorts of new content because Eric in particular doesn't have a wife and kids to worry about.
Yeah.
So I can literally just chuck games at him and say, play, review. Play, review. Here's recording equipment. Play, review, record your playthrough.
Right.
Let's go. I'll edit the video together. Let's get a review going. Anyways.
You can do them voiceover reviews.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, anyways, yeah, there would be a lot more content then, but let's worry about.
Yeah, right.
That's just. I'm just trying to survive this year. I'm a full-time YouTuber now, and I'm just trying to make sure that I make it up for myself at the moment. But yes, I would love to hire Eric someday. Heck, I'd love to hire Mike as well someday if I could. That'd be great. He's got some skills that I don't. So
You can't afford me, man.
Let's at least get the
probably can't, Mr. Apple Worker.
let's
can.
at least get the podcast channel to 5,000 subscribers first.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it.
Hey, we're slowly growing. We might hit 4,000 before the end of the year. Who knows?
Yeah.
That's awesome, dude.
All right, let's shout out to all of our audio listeners. Thank you for being so patient with the audio episodes. I'm trying, now that I'm full-time, I'm trying to actually be better about getting the audio versions out faster. But also, if the podcast runs super, super late, I don't have time to do it the same day, so it's kind of a hodgepodge. All right, so what have I been playing lately? Admittedly, I have not turned on my Switch all week. That might upset some people. It is what it is. If I had turned it on, I would be playing more Xenoblade Chronicles 3. But I haven't turned it on, and I would say I feel shame. But I had a really busy weekend, and then Madden 23 came out, and that's pretty much the only thing I've played in this last week. And I haven't even played that much of it. I played like one game, 2 games technically. I played one against the computer, so I haven't really been playing a ton of games this past week. It's just been really busy. We had to get our car fixed because we were having rotor issues and stuff with that, so I had to take care of that. This is the last. Second to last full week, my kids are having summer, so been having to entertain my children a lot. Obviously, things get a lot easier during the school year because, hey, they're gone during a work day, so I can actually work and not be distracted all the time. So they went over and went swimming a lot this week and stuff like that. Basically, making sure my kids enjoy the end of their summer. Still getting content out, not quite as much. I wanted to get a couple videos a day, but I'm still getting a video day out. So yeah, we're trucking along here as I'm trying to find a schedule that works for me best now that I'm full-time to make sure I deliver the best possible content to you guys. And yeah, so that's basically what I've been focused on is just trying to reorganize the channel. We actually have a big reorganization of our official Discord server coming on Friday as well, which has been desperately needed. So I'm just trying to get things more organized. Now that I'm full-time and not just flying by the seat of my pants, when can I make content? When can I do that? I have no idea. Well, now I can kind of try to schedule things out and try to make this work. It's kind of funny, too, because Mike over there in his recent videos been talking about a product he's about to do an unboxing of.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah, I've had that giant thing for like, what, a year now? And I haven't done anything on it because I'm still waiting on another. Hey, dude, you have it too. Cool, man. So we can do the unboxing together.
So I have the same product that Mike's going to unbox. For those who don't know what it is, it's an Orion gaming display. It's basically a way to play TV mode on the go with your Switch and on a larger screen.
You have a battery?
I do not have a battery that works anymore. I do not have a battery. Maybe Eric, do you still have a battery bank? I don't have a battery bank anymore.
Yeah, I think so.
Anyways,
it's supposed to have a battery that comes with it too. If you buy it separately from them too. So
well, they sent it to me.
Yeah.
And I do not. I guess I haven't gone completely through it, but I don't think it came with the power bank. Yeah, it says power bank is not included. So, anyways,
so they sent me that one, I was supposed to get the power bank this, and then in a t-shirt. I guess I'm supposed to wear a t-shirt
Nice.
with it.
Yeah,
Okay.
I don't know. I told them when they contacted me that, one, I will probably make a video on it. Two, I can't guarantee what I say in that video.
Yeah,
I might find this thing to be completely ridiculous, and I might just have fun with it. In fact, I might be featuring so it's going to be a video I do eventually, but I think I'm going to combine it with other like absolutely ridiculous Switch accessories and kind of do like a unboxing video / like instant reaction and is this good, is this bad, should you spend your money on it kind of thing. I'll put links to all the products, of course, because maybe to somebody they think it's awesome. I can tell you right now, I'm not so sure about this one.
I already see the video.
I'm not so sure about this product, and that's what I told them. I'm like, I can't guarantee you what I say is going to be nice, but if you just want attention, a video will exist eventually. So, anyways, so yeah, we'll be doing stuff like that. So that's another thing too, is reorganizing all those contacts and just getting more products in here so we can do other types of content besides just the news, especially on weekends. And then it's just been a lot of reorganizing and rethinking things and just stuff that I honestly probably should have sat down and done a while ago, but because my other work schedule was all over the place and obviously all summer long, it's hard. It's a lot easier when you get to the school year because one, your kids are in school Monday through Friday, so that helps a lot, and you also have their schedule ahead of time, so you know when they have their off days and teacher in-service days and stuff like that, sporting events, so you can kind of plan around all of that. And which is just during the summer, it's really just a free for all because we don't have daycare, so it's just do the best you can some days. And with Yulia working late still, obviously that's really hard when the kids are awake at 6 a.m. and being loud as hell. So everything will kind of get back to normal there, and we'll get back to a semi-regular schedule that I hope to find a way by next summer to have more organized to keep it going during the summer. Even if it involves just sending my kids to daycare. Literally, that could just be the answer. But we'll see. We'll see how that's going because daycare can get quite pricey. Mm-hmm. But yeah, so just Madden 23. Haven't really been playing anything else. Just been organizing the channel. But I have been making content. And our very first topic is about something that I made content about yesterday, and then a quick follow-up today. I'm not sure that there'll be another video on this unless something comes of it. And that is that Nintendo has some allegations of sexual harassment against their couple full-time employees that still work at Nintendo of America as of today, or at least they did as of yesterday, I guess I should say. I have no idea if obviously they're still employed or not. Nintendo launched an internal investigation yesterday. So the news went out today, but the letter's from yesterday. So basically, Kotaku put out their article, and within the same day, Doug Bowser launched an internal investigation. So it's interesting to see what comes of it. It's been more interesting, I think, to see people's response to it for me, because from my opinion, like just to kind of give a breakdown, because I don't want to go through the whole article, although I fully believe that if you want the full context, you really should read the full article because context matters. But just to kind of give a quick summary, Kotaku was in contact with 10 different sources on this article, and they decided to go live with it after they obtained a piece of paper that was basically evidence of these claims being made internally getting ignored. So it started just with someone. The article started out with just using a fake alias name, Hannah. It's not her actual name. Having complaints about a group chat that was created with the staff, where a new staff member came in and started dropping sex-based Nintendo memes. And I know some people don't think that that's a big deal, but there is a such thing as appropriate for the workplace. And when you work at a family-friendly company like Nintendo, I think you guys can kind of guess that sex-based memes are probably not appropriate for the workplace.
You know your audience.
Like, know the company you're working for. But anyways, that was just initial allegations. And again, an internal, the problem with internal investigations is companies have every reason to find no wrongdoing because it makes them look better. So we'll see what comes of the internal investigation. But to be fair, that sort of allegation could be proved. There should be logs somewhere. So that's kind of a provable one. But again, the Kotaku didn't have the proof of that on hand. But that's just like one allegation. That same person apparently, and they didn't say this. This was actually a male named Alice or something, Chris Alice, I believe, was asked by one of the Nintendo employees. I believe it was Bush, who is a full-time Nintendo of America employee, asked him at an event that Nintendo employees were at to ask Hannah what color her panties were. That was another allegation, and that one wasn't even made by Hannah. That was made by the person who was supposed to ask her the color of the panties. I'm assuming he didn't actually go through with it and ask the color of the panties, which is why Hannah didn't file a complaint about that, because it was Chris who was like, I'm not. That's way inappropriate. Why would I be doing that? So there was that allegation as well. Other allegations that Nintendo of America employees have been using the contract base, so contract employees that are game testers, as a dating pool, and that the person from Nintendo of America that manages the entirety of the contract base essentially hits on every single woman that's hired, and not only hits on them, makes comments on their weight and looks, for whatever that's worth. And just a whole bunch of other allegations. Apparently there was a formal complaint filed by a company that represents a certain sector of the contract employees. Then that complaint had 12 different people on the complaint, and it was submitted to HR and other branches at Nintendo, and nothing happened. And they state nothing happened, like HR said, because the names on the report are anonymous, we are not going to do anything, which that feels a little strange, but that is the piece of paper that Kotaku supposedly has. The proof actually existed and actually was filed and got ignored internally. And all of these allegations stem back, I think 2009 is the earliest one, and then stem all the way through Wii U, 3DS, and the Switch era all the way up to at least 2020. Because I think the one employee quit in 2020 over stuff that was happening. So, and that person that quit apparently worked there almost a decade. When you're a contract employee, that means your contract's been renewed several times. And for your contract to be renewed, that usually means you're good at your job, because they don't renew contract employees if you suck. There was also allegations in there of a massive wage gap at one point, where one female worker had been working there for like 6 years, and a brand new hired male coworker was making $4 more per hour than she was, even though he had zero experience. And she clearly had lots of experience and hadn't received a raise, but a new hire, I could speak to that. Sometimes happens. I worked at McDonald's for years, and the new hires were making more than me, and I had a problem with that, because that doesn't make sense. That some high school punk coming in with no work experience is working part-time, and he's making $12 an hour, and I'm making $7.50 because I only get a 10-cent raise every year. That's and that bothered me too. And I said something to my boss about it, and I did end up getting a raise for the rest of the time that I worked there, but at least to equal that pay, which I still thought was kind of ridiculous, because I'm a full-time employee and I
have the experience.
I have the experience. I should be getting paid probably more than that person, but whatever. So I have firsthand experience that, wage gaps happen, and I know some people think that you're not supposed to talk about wages in the workplace, but you absolutely can. It's actually protected in the United States.
Protected by law. You can.
It is protected in the United States. You are allowed to discuss your wages.
And if you get fired for it, you have a nice lawsuit on your hands.
Yeah, if you ever got
if you can
fired,
prove that,
if you can prove that the discussion of each other's wages led to you getting let go, that's actually a massive lawsuit that you can just be set for life at that point, because that is way against the law. And that is specifically because of the wage gap issues, is why it's protected under law to talk about that. Because how are you supposed to know if there's any issues if you're not allowed to even discuss it? So, and you can discuss it at work. It doesn't have to be like an off hours thing.
Yep.
You could be sitting right now. I could be sitting right next to Eric at work and literally look him in the face with the manager standing right there. Hey man, how much you get paid?
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Oh, that's bullshit.
Yeah.
You're only getting paid $1,000 more than me, and you've been there how much longer?
Yeah, right.
Oh,
Yeah.
What the fuck? You should be getting paid more.
Yeah, right. Hell yeah.
Yeah, dude, I agree.
Yeah.
No, anyways, that's obviously going in the other direction, where I'm not arguing that I should be paid more.
Yeah.
But the point is that obviously that stuff happens. There's other allegations in there about inappropriate touching, and just obviously advances, unwanted sexual advances. How gay women were actually extremely, two of them were part of this, were apparently extremely discriminated against, where they would tell all the male coworkers, including the Nintendo of America employees, that, hey, I'm not into you, I am lesbian. And then they would either immediately ignore them, or they would immediately say, nah, you're just playing hard to get. Okay. I mean, if someone tells you they don't want the advances and you continue to advance, that's like it's one thing. I think what happens in situations like this, when a guy hits on a girl and then the girl says no, and then you keep doing it. But again, these are allegations, and there's other ones as well. It's so hard trying to like summarize the whole article because there was a lot in there. About a lot of these complaints went through HR at Aerotech, which is the company Nintendo uses to hire, and the HR would never pass it up to Nintendo's HR. The full-time employee actually did get in trouble over the panty incident, apparently, but the only trouble they got in is they just had to go to a sexual harassment class, which it's something.
If it's your first offense
I think,
and you actually stop doing it,
I think that their problem with it is that if it was one of the contract employees, they would have just been fired.
Oh yeah, 100%.
But because it's a full-time Nintendo employee, they're being treated different. Which, I mean, I hate to say it.
Welcome to be a contract. Welcome to being a contract.
I hate to say it. They are going to get a little bit of a different treatment. So that one didn't bother me as much because at least he did get in trouble. Unfortunately, it doesn't seem like it stopped him from actually hitting on women and trying to date them from that section. Also, the person that runs it, if you're a female and apparently when a new female hire gets hired, again, accusations, no proof at this point besides that one document Kotaku has. If you avoid that person and you don't want to be alone with him in that office, the problem is if you're not in his good graces, that person controls whether you're rehired, brought back for another game. That person controls if you're promoted. So you have to be in their good graces. And if you're a female employee, that means you kind of have to let him do what he does or you can't advance in your career. They also noted that it's extremely hard to advance, particularly for female employees. Male employees apparently had an easier path, which, I mean, there's more male employees than female ones, but it was apparently they could just get buddy really fast, go out for drinks, go to Super Bowl parties with them, and then end up getting buddy with Nintendo of America employees, and then they would get hired. When females asked what they needed to do to get promoted, they were basically told, or at least one particular female was told, that it doesn't matter what you do work-wise. You need to go to this event with this person, and these are the things you need to talk about. None of it had anything to do with work, which to them felt extremely inappropriate, that none of the talk of getting promoted had to actually do with your job.
None of the promotion it had no work-based merit.
There was no work. It's basically hit on them.
You could be the best worker they have, but it doesn't matter.
That they need to basically hit on the guy.
Yeah.
And that they need to let the Nintendo of America employees date them so they can get invited to the famous Christmas parties that Nintendo throws, because you can't get in there without a red badge unless you're the +1, and all this stuff. So, look, none of this is obviously nearly as bad as the stuff that was thrown out about Activision Blizzard. I mean, that literally led to somebody committing suicide. So that's a whole nother level of harassment, and obviously has direct evidence proof that was presented by the time it became public. If people want to know why, when Activision Blizzard stuff became public, we had all the evidence thrown before us by the government. This is because they actually were under investigation for years, and Activision Blizzard did everything they could to hide the fact that they were under investigation. So the public was never actually made aware that there was an ongoing investigation. So that's why by the time we found out about that stuff, it's because the investigation was over. They had the evidence and they threw it out there. So it was really easy to be like, holy crap, someone committed suicide? Well, someone's sharing around a picture of their naked girlfriend with other people at a work event. There's a Cosby suite. What has happened? And again, they already had all that evidence to throw out there. This time around, this isn't anyone suing Nintendo. This isn't anyone going after them for money. This is just, hey, we are throwing out these allegations, and that has obviously led to a lot of skepticism over why are these allegations existing, why now, especially if it happened 2 years ago, a whole lot of stuff that obviously I have no answers for, because if we're completely honest, none of us are involved in this situation. So there is a point to say that none of us have a right to pass judgment. one way or another. We can have our feelings. We can have our own personal stories of things that might have happened in our life with ourselves and or coworkers that we've witnessed. You guys that are watching can have your feelings as well on things that you've experienced personally that might make you believe the stories or not believe the stories. At the end of the day, none of us know. So I think what was upsetting to me about this when I reported on it is the number of people that just jumped to calling everyone liars and basically saying, who cares? Nintendo's doing great with their video games. And I get that on an individual basis, you probably care more about games than random strangers that you know. Don't know, I should say. But on the surface, I think it's important to note that just quickly dismissing means you're passing judgment before you have proof. And I get the burden of proof is on them and the people that are going to investigate Nintendo's internal investigation and stuff to prove that these allegations are true or not. But just assuming they're lying is you already passing a judgment. So I don't know if this is true or not. I do know that this seems to be happening in a lot of companies and gaming industry, especially Ubisoft had proven allegations. Activision Blizzard, obviously, with their proven allegations. So now they're no longer allegations, they're facts. So it's going to be interesting to see if Nintendo does turn anything up. Obviously, some people roll their eyes at internal investigations because they usually don't turn anything up. I wonder why. But then external investigations sometimes come in and suddenly, oh yeah. I mean, Activision Blizzard, when the government initially laid the evidence out there, literally denied all ongoings and said our internal investigation turned up nothing. Yet the government investigation had direct evidence. So there's always a reason to be skeptical of internal investigations. But it's better than not doing any investigation and just ignoring the allegations. I also think Nintendo of Japan probably has on the phone immediately with Doug Bowser when that article got published. Because Nintendo cares greatly about their reputation. Maybe even more so than how they care about how the employees were treated. But bottom line is the employees potentially being treated bad affects Nintendo's reputation, and they are a family-oriented company, so they definitely don't want that out there. And Nintendo isn't like Disney. There's actually a lot of shady crap with Disney over the years that Disney's paid a lot of money to try to make sure the public doesn't know about all the time. And Nintendo doesn't really have a history of that. So what I want to do is I want to ask Eric and Mike what you guys think about all of this, both reactions from people and or just your feelings in general about these allegations coming out. Because in my opinion, I don't believe in just dismissing things because I haven't been presented direct video proof that this person slapped your ass or something. Like, okay, well, doesn't mean it didn't happen just because it's not on tape. So, what do you guys think?
Go for it, Mike.
All right. So, first of all, any type of harassment to anyone anywhere in the world for any reason is something that I completely don't tolerate at all, and it's disgusting that somebody might do that. I mean, if you are interested in approaching somebody, you have the right to. Okay, you like this girl, you like this guy. I'm not telling you not to try that one time, but if you feel like that person has said no and you feel that no is a no, let it go and move on. Have enough pride in yourself, okay? Have enough balls to move on. Be a man and do the right thing instead of just putting yourself at the lowest and going after something that you can't have just because your little ego has been hurt. And this goes all to all the harassers out there. I don't respect you, period. You need to get a life. And when it comes to work environments, everything deserves to be investigated. Everything deserves to be investigated. And it's all up to the leadership. Right now, this is in this case, as I'm understanding, this is with that contracting company, correct? This is where it all began.
Yeah. So Aerotech, they're the ones that handle all the contract hires, and they do the HR for that department. And
Okay,
they decide if it gets escalated to Nintendo's HR.
oh wow, so they decide if it gets escalated to Nintendo. That's very convenient.
Which is convenient as well, since a Nintendo of America employee runs the department too.
I mean, well,
Yeah.
like I said,
It's
it
weird.
has
It's a weird setup, to be honest, but
everything has to do with leadership. You know, if leadership sucks, and then things are gonna go wrong. They're gonna, the tolerance level that they allow. It's all leadership. The company Nintendo should get rid of contractors completely. Have enough.
they should just hire internally.
Yeah,
hire your own contractors. You
I
don't
don't
need a
understand.
company.
But I understand why contractors come into play, because that means that Nintendo doesn't have to pay them benefits. They just have to.
Yeah. And I get using contract employees for game testers.
Yeah, but why are you going
But-
through a separate company to hire the
well, I mean, a
contractors?
lot of companies do that because of tax reasons. It's mostly
Yeah,
just it's just a tax thing. But
and benefits, because I mean, when you hire somebody, it's not just salary; it's a multi-million-dollar contract you have in your hands. That you're not only paying them their wages, you're paying them their benefits. You're paying the benefits for them and their family members, and so on and so on. So it's easier to get a contractor and say, I'm going to pay you only this much. You do whatever you want with that money.
And one note, this isn't about whether allegations are true or not. When I was researching this story, I found out, and I don't know if people know this, Nintendo of America is actually the main base for game testing for all of Nintendo. So even though the games are made in Japan, they're tested here with the bug reports sent back to Japan to take care of. So I honestly didn't know that, and maybe that's just because of how. Maybe that's because they can hire contract companies like this, and maybe that's not allowed in Japan or something. I have no idea. But it was just something I found out in my research that I had no idea. I mean, it's kind of cool if you think about it. Like, if you want to be a game tester, that is kind of cool to work for Nintendo if you love Nintendo games and you don't mind getting paid like $15 an hour. But yeah, anyways, I was just kind of noting that it's maybe, part of this might stem just from the business model, of trying to use as cheap a labor as possible to test your games.
Yeah, and believe it or not, business is business. You know what I mean? If that's the way it works, and that's the way they want to go to save a buck, that's not where the problem lies. The problem lies in leadership and people who they hire. They don't do enough background checks. They don't really do enough monitoring, because I, as an employee of a company I'm not going to mention, I get regular checks. I get regular evaluations. I get not only from me, from my coworkers. They tell about my work, and so it's a group thing. So we are all held accountable. This is just a thing of accountability. When you let one thing go, trust me, that one thing later on it'll keep escalating and escalating and escalating. So your level of tolerance when it comes to what you allow in your group, the group that you're in charge of, determines what happens in your group. And this is what happened in this group. I can't speak too much about the pay, who gets paid more. I've actually been through this thing where I, as a guy too, is not have been paid less from somebody who comes in later, and that happens. This is something that happens in business because
I mean, like the whole protecting with sharing wages doesn't mean you're going to get paid more just because someone else is paid more. Like.
Yeah, no, I mean the fact that if you're working for a company for so long and you start at a lower wage, because at that time that's how much
that's what the wage was, and it's changed now. And sometimes you can demand it, but like sometimes like my dad, he works under a contract, but it's he's upper level, and so when it's at the contract renewal that he can go, hey, this is what they're paying now for this position. I would like to be paid somewhere around that neighborhood, and then it's up to the company to decide, well, we're not, are we willing to pay that to keep you? Do we value that? Or, hey, we'll still keep you, but we're only going to give you this little bit of an increase.
And then
we're not gonna,
that's when you can choose
that's
to
when
leave
you
or
choose
not.
if you want to leave or not. Yeah. But that's not always true. Like, and that's not true for everything, because some people, like are full salaried and aren't necessarily contract. Like they're just there for as long as they're there until they want to leave or the company lets them go. And in that case, obviously, then you don't get those intermittent periods of negotiations. But it's different. It's different with it. Isn't it crazy how many different ways there are to work for a company?
Yeah,
like it has been standardized somehow. I mean, it's probably good that it hasn't been, because people like different work situations, I guess.
Yeah.
But
so when it comes to the sexual harassment part, this is just, again, it's bad leadership. I think that it warrants I mean, it's good that it came out because when something does come out and an award is taken out for an internal investigation, is that when they want to make sure that they go down on the chain to see where this came out, who is not reporting to who and who's not doing their job correctly, because that's where the chopping is gonna start, from that person all the way down. You know what I mean? So that internal investigation, I'm really all for it. Hopefully they take care of this and nip it in the butt, and then they remove these contracting companies, because even if the head of the company of these contractors are their tolerance is at this level, and they don't deserve to work with a company like Nintendo, because they're giving Nintendo a bad name. It's like we can't blame Nintendo as a brand for what this little department is tolerating. This little area. It's like me. I work for a different department in Apple, and somebody who works a different department over there does something crazy, and the entire company pays for it, like in the media. You know what I mean?
That's how it goes. Yeah.
Yeah. So we basically, what they have to do is just because I'm pretty sure Nintendo has a different type of tolerance level inside. Now when it comes to how do you get your badges and how you, that's just, again, that's just the culture that needs to change. It's something that they've probably been doing forever because of the class, I guess. Like they divided them in classes. Oh, you're a higher class than I am, and you have to work your way up to this or whatever. You have to know somebody to get this, to get somewhere. You know what I mean? That's just a culture that needs to change, and that'll change with different,
leadership.
That's something that needs to change when it comes to leadership.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting because Aerotech actually lost, I think, like 3 actual lawsuits to date at other companies where this type of stuff was happening, and they actually lost and had to pay out a bunch of money. So I find it interesting because obviously that's made public knowledge now. I guess it probably always was. People just didn't care to look. So there is a history with that company, just to throw that out there. And obviously Nintendo should probably reevaluate, bare minimum, if they want to keep working with said company.
Right. Yeah. I was just gonna say,
because there's got to be other contract companies they could use that maybe have a better record.
Or just completely they have enough money to not.
Oh, I know. I think they can just do it internally. You can still have contract employees, but just have it be done internally. You don't have to use an outside. I understand it'll cost Nintendo more, but
yeah, because then they'd have to.
But then if you can avoid all this, and then also
contractors,
this would also make it so. And this is something that, when people said, "Well, Reggie was really dismissive," because there is actually 2 ongoing investigations into Nintendo from the National Labor Union. They're actually investigating Nintendo on two claims filed with them that could be leading to lawsuits if the investigation turns anything up. And what's interesting is all of that had to also do with this same company, and it's Ashton Carter labeled in there because Aerotech split up their name into different sub branches, probably to try to hide some of the allegations against them from the past after the lawsuits hit them. And I think it's interesting because Nintendo can afford to obviously do this all themselves. And one thing that would be good about that is I do actually think that HR at Nintendo and the like Doug Bowser probably have a good idea of things happening underneath them up to a point until it's managed by somebody else, and it's up to them if they hear about it. And if you can get rid of that up to somebody else if you hear about it and it's just Nintendo HR, I think that alone could really fix a lot of problems, because one thing they did note in the allegations, assuming any of it's true, one thing noted was that everyone seems to really like Nintendo's HR person. Like, apparently they're aware of some issues and are already trying to make changes inside Nintendo, but they can't do anything about this section because they don't manage it.
Which I think is bullshit.
That's just how it's structured.
No, I know, but that's bullshit.
Yeah.
It's because the complaints don't come across their desk. It's up to the other HR department to decide to pass it along. And I don't know. Again, these are just allegations. I don't actually know how Nintendo runs. So,
but if true, it is a flaw in their system, because and if there is a certain department that is really lacking, and the head of the department is really letting things by, and then somebody from that department goes to another head of another department and tells them, look, this is happening. I've already escalated to the head of my department and nothing is being done, and it's getting worse, then that person has a responsibility for the company, for that employee to escalate that. You know what I mean?
Well, that's what HR is supposed to do. They're not supposed
Well,
to
not even HR.
Yeah,
I mean, just management all around.
Like one thing about HR, and this is something I actually had a talk at a seminar. God, this was like 4 years ago. No, 8 years ago. Gosh, I don't know why I thought it was 8 years ago. And one thing I heard about it, because I went basically to a PR seminar, because you guys know I'm not always the best of my own PR over here.
What?
I probably should grow to a point that I could hire someone to handle my PR. I might get a lot less. I might say a lot less stupid things publicly, except on the podcast. But what's interesting when I was there is they had some people coming to talk about HR, and they said the funny thing is companies, they try to hire HRs that are gonna kind of be favorite to the company, and but they said when people go to college to become an HR worker, you're not working for the company, you're working for the employees. You're there for them. And a lot of HR people forget that because, someone else is signing your check. Well, that's fine. And you are there to hold them responsible as well. You are there to hold the entire company, liable to the policies that are established both legally and if there's independent ones within the company as well. And it's kind of an unfortunate reality that a lot of HR places don't do that. They stay loyal to who writes their checks because they can determine if they're hired or fired. To a point, there's actually protections in there for wrongful firing, but how scary it is to think about trying to go against a multi-billion-dollar company if they fire you.
Oh, they'll get your ass into the ground.
I mean, they're gonna have their $1 million lawyers coming at you, and you got your $100,000 lawyer that you can't even afford to pay if you lose, and hoping someone does it pro bono. That's really good. I mean, there's entire lawyer groups dedicated to fighting against that kind of corruption, but it's just interesting when I learned that, because honestly, I had no idea what human resources was really for, other than if you have a problem with other employees or other things, you file it with them and they'll determine what, if anything, needs to be done. So I've always known that, but it was interesting to find out that no, their job is to protect employees and make sure that the workplace is safe for everybody. That's literally their job. It doesn't matter if you're the CEO, they're responsible for them too. They do something stupid to another employee, they can punish. They're the only department that can punish the CEO. Nobody else can punish the CEO except investors. They can vote him out. But besides that, the only person in the whole company that can punish a CEO is HR. Now, can HR fire the CEO? I don't know if they have that kind of power. I'm not sure if HR has the ability to do that. I don't know enough about it for that. But they do have the ability to punish.
I suppose it would be on the company.
I have no idea. I don't work in HR. But the seminar was just really interesting to find out. And then they talked about how a lot of HR, the reason for these seminars is to point out that if an HR isn't doing this, that they're not watching out for the best interest of the employees. They're dismissing claims. By the way, the one thing mentioned in the allegations was that, because it's anonymous, we can't do it. No. HR encourages anonymous. They don't want to stick a name to the complaint because they know that can lead to more chastising of the individual. They want to do private investigations of the claims for themselves and find out if something, as an example, setting up a camera system without anybody knowing except HR, because they're allowed to actually do that for monitoring for safety. They're actually allowed to do that. But again, this all comes down to HR doing what they're supposed to do. And unfortunately, as I learned at the seminar, a lot of HRs don't do that. And that they wanted to let people know that if you feel like your HR is not working in the best interest of the employees, that you need to go the legal route, unfortunately. Because if you go above their head to, let me go to the CEO, you may or may not get anything because they're probably not going to want to deal with it. So they'll just say, no, go back to HR. Point. Yeah.
The only way I see this kind of going that Nintendo really can't do much until it's reported to them is if you are a contractor, you are a contract employee, you should have your own HR department. And then Nintendo has their own HR department that manages their employee, anybody who's under their contract. Now, if you go over to Nintendo's HR, okay, and you are a contract employee.
I don't think they even have access.
can't do anything for them because under contract,
Yeah.
they can't protect you because you're not with them. Now the problem is that the HR department for this contracting company is not reporting it to Nintendo or not taking
Appropriate
anything.
actions.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean,
Again,
it's just
by the way, all allegations, everybody, we don't actually know.
Or allegations until proven otherwise.
They could end up all of this could end up being made up. What's interesting though, as I said, we already have 2 reports of misconduct to the National Labor Union that is investigating Nintendo at the moment. So there's already open investigations over. These aren't sex related complaints. These are labor complaints. But they're not related to sexual harassment. They're just to note that so that like those investigations might not even be discovering. Now maybe through the discovery they find stuff, but it'll be interesting. I want to see if Nintendo themselves in their own investigation uncovers anything. Now I don't expect them to really post much about it publicly, except maybe admitting some self-fault in it and that they've made appropriate changes or whatever. But I don't know. That again, we don't know. All right, I'm done talking about it now. You guys can say what you want about it. Eric, I know hasn't said much yet.
Yeah, no. Mike, you got anything else?
No, I disagree with everything, and I'm against it. That's all I got to say.
There you go. Yeah. No, honestly, if these are proven true, that's rough. But yeah, I mean, just don't do it. It's not worth it. It's stupid. Treat your other coworkers and everybody with respect and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it's just dang. It's gonna force Nintendo to take a look at itself and its structure, hierarchy, see where the failures are, or alleged failures are, and hopefully make themselves learn and evaluate and reevaluate everything to host a better work environment, to put in chains of command that are not just you go to one person. You could go to a handful of people, because if you go to one person and they aren't doing anything, you got to have other options. That's the other thing, is you may not know. Okay, so you contacted this HR person. Well, they're not doing anything. Or you contacted your manager. They're not escalating it. Well, who do I go to next? If they don't have that in place for employees to know the proper chain of command to go up to, and if that chain of command isn't escalating, then you got issues. So, they had to really, really roadmap this out if they don't already, which it kind of sounds like they don't. You really got to roadmap this out and make yourself better to provide, a nice, clean work environment for your employees.
Yeah. And to add to that, if anybody out there who's working for any type of company, don't feel intimidated. If you need to speak out, speak out. Tell somebody. If you're being mistreated, something's happening in your work that you're not, that's not supposed to be happening, like a chat, or you're being personally accused or again violated in that way. Seek help. Mm-hmm. If that doesn't work, seek legal help, and don't be afraid how big the company is, because all it takes is one good lawyer against 20 million blood-sucking lawyers, to win a case. And if you have a case, go after it. All it takes is one good lawyer. Trust me. And don't worry about money, because a good lawyer will not charge you until they win. That's how you can tell what a good lawyer is. A bad lawyer wants their money up front. Okay? A good lawyer will not charge you unless you win. That's how you know. That's how you can pick your lawyers, okay? And if you need a lawyer because you need to persecute something and get something that's been done to you, all right? Don't step down. You have to stand up, be brave, get that lawyer and fight, because that's the only way we can get rid of all this mess. That's what and I believe, I don't really know, but I have a feeling that's what they're doing. These people who are stepping out of the shadows and trying to make a change in this environment, because we wouldn't be having this discussion if they would have not spoken. So it's good that people speak out so that we can have some change finally happening in the work atmosphere. You know what I mean? This is not for all companies, but for those who are lacking in certain areas, who have wrongly delegated certain tasks to people who don't deserve it, then this would help them kind of like Eric said, just self-evaluate and adjust what they need to do in order to fix these things and make it happen. But if you have been through if you are going through this, you need to speak up and tell somebody that you trust first, and then try to escalate it and seek help, because something that we need to work with is happening in more places than we want it to help to happen, and it just needs to come to a stop.
All right, well said. Let's get into our next topic, because believe it or not, I don't actually like talking about negative stories, and this has been the dominant story now for the last 2 days, at least for me at my channel. The thing I want to end on with it, and this is just going out to any possible, because I know we have some content creators out there that watch my podcast in particular. Don't be afraid to talk about the story if you feel like it's something you want to talk about. You might get some backlash. I know I have. But don't be afraid to talk about the story. It's a real story happening. It's being reported by Nintendo Life now. It's picked up by Go Nintendo and My Nintendo. All the news outlets are picking it up. Don't let this be something that just because it's negative that we ignore. Okay? Because if it turns out that this stuff actually happened, you're going to be thankful that you covered it. And if it turns out that it was all a bunch of lies, you'll also be thankful you covered it, because it could also be one of those examples.
You can turn around and go, hey.
Yeah, it's one of those examples of people trying to take advantage of a company. So either way, as long as you are staying as impartial as you can, I think most of us can agree, absolutely, the stuff, if it did happen, is wrong. It's gross. It shouldn't be happening in the workplace. There are certain
shouldn't be happening anywhere.
There are certain professional standards that we can expect. Like I can get if you badger someone at a bar, okay, they could just leave, or you could just leave. I mean, it's up to the bar to really enforce anything like that. And I know bars don't always do that. No. Which is why people end up finding their favorite bars to go to, or maybe they don't deal with some of that behavior from men. It's not really men though. It's really unfair to just say it's men. I've been sexually harassed by a female boss I had once, so. But I don't know. I didn't take the proper steps at the time, so. Yeah. And that's on me, and hopefully that's what sucks, is just knowing that they might have did that to somebody else who maybe isn't as strong as I feel I am, to handle something like that. And that I feel bad about that part of it, is that person probably shouldn't be working there anymore, but it's whatever. That company went under 2 years after I quit. So, cause I quit over the incident. Anyways, getting into other stuff, some gaming conversations. Believe it or not, I'd rather talk about video games than this topic, and hopefully this is the last time we have to talk about this topic, unless, I guess, the allegations get much worse, or obviously we have an actual update on investigations and lawsuits and anything like that. Obviously, updates on the story that are significant. The update today was that Doug Bowser has launched an internal investigation, and that's just where it stands right now. There's no reason to really bring it up again until something comes or doesn't come of any of that stuff. So, one thing that was really, really cool, I thought, this last week is we got Wave Race announced for Nintendo Switch Online. Launches this Friday. Really, really cool. I played a lot of Wave Race 64 back in the day. So I played a lot of Wave Race in general, to be honest. Game Boy Wave Race was where I was at, man. I dominated that one. But what I want to actually talk about is not whether we're excited or not for Wave Race. That's obviously going to be up to the individuals, and it's a racing game, and how much you miss the franchise. But how are we feeling about Nintendo Switch Online today?
Go ahead, Eric.
Yeah. Man, I mean, it's exciting. Wave Race is coming. I don't really play a whole lot of the online games. The NSO games. But I mean, I guess I really haven't been, following up with how they've been announcing it,
so,
what they've kind of done. It'd be nice to have like a consistent, like you're expected, 1 game, 2 games every other week or something like that.
So here's what I can tell you.
Because I know for a long while they didn't do anything.
Yeah, no. For a while it was bad. We would go like 6 months and nothing happened with new games. They've been doing one new N64 game every single month, and then they've been doing one batch of NES and SNES editions once a month as well. Now these have been random. There's no warning. There's no consistency in what days they announce it and what days it comes out. One time they gave us a 3-week warning. To this time they gave us a 3-day warning. So there's no consistency in that. But what is consistent is every month we've been getting new NES and or SNES or both randomly dropped. Usually they're just shadow dropped and they're right there and they're ready to go. And then one N64 game. And they've gone through their list of all the N64 games they announced originally. So now the ones we've been getting lately have been ones that we have no idea. It's a mystery now. We have no clue what's coming. So that part has been consistent, at least since the release of the N64 for online. It's been consistent since then.
Okay. I mean, because I know they did start out consistently when they did the
NES and SNES
originally.
they did for like a year maybe, and then they just kind of backed off.
So yeah, it's nice to see that they are kind of starting to get back into that consistency then, because that's all you can ask for is just consistency, growing your brand, growing your online presence, I guess I should say. So it's a good thing. I don't know if, again, where we're at with this, because I don't really play a whole lot of those games. But, yeah, I mean, would I like more games? Obviously. But consistency is always one nice thing, and transparency is always nice when it comes to this type of stuff. So that's kind of where I'm at with
that was something we talked about big with NSO in the past with the games in particular was transparency. Even with like the DLC. Okay, should we be expecting more DLC to be added? I mean, the real question is probably Nintendo doesn't know, so they can't tell us. That's probably the reason. But it's interesting just to see them. Not, like even now where we're getting an N64 game per month and we're getting shadow drops of NES and SNES games, that there wasn't even an announcement that hey we're gonna do it once. So even though it's been consistent, it's still like if there's no N64 game next month, I mean they never promised you there would be, so you can't get mad at them for it. But then it's like, but how hard would have it been to say, hey, our plan for the foreseeable future is an N64 game per month and random SNES and NES drops. And if there's going to be a month that they don't have it, how hard is it to say the first of the month hits and hey, unfortunately this month we will be skipping the N64 release. That's communication,
right?
And Nintendo doesn't really do that. So communication, I think, is still probably an overall issue for NSO. But
with the communication, though, too, it also lets you know that they are still invested in this.
Yeah, and that they care. That they recognize, hey, we know people might get mad. We're not adding one this month.
Or they're not even, because Nintendo has in the past just abandoned things.
Yeah.
So it is very well. I mean, you'd hate to see them, and I doubt they would just randomly abandon their NSO. But
not right now, anyway.
Right.
Like one thing I know a lot of people want to know as we're in like the second half of the generation of Switch, however long Switch is still going to go for, a year, 2 years, 5 years, I have no idea. But for however long it's going to go, a lot of people want to know. Here's a bit of a communication, Nintendo: is NSO going to carry forward to your next system, or are we rebooting again? Big question people want to know, and I think the answer to that would make people feel even better about NSO. Because if the answer is we're going to carry it forward, that's great. That's what people want to hear. Then we can be like, if we don't get GameCube now, it's cool. We'll get it someday. It's all just going to be a growing service rather than rebooting back to NES all over again. Because that was an issue with Virtual Console where you had to rebuy games. And I know, no, you didn't. You're right. On Wii U, you didn't because you could load up a Wii inside the Wii U and play your games. But, okay, well, 3DS, you had to rebuy them. You couldn't just, if you owned a game that was on 3DS and Wii, you couldn't just play it on 3DS. You had to buy it again. There wasn't as many on 3DS, obviously. And then on Wii U, if you owned it on Wii, you couldn't just play it on Wii U. You had to boot into Wii mode. You couldn't just play the game on Wii U. Now, they let you upgrade for a cheaper price, but you still had to pay them to upgrade to the Wii U version. So it still really wasn't that clean of a way to handle things. It's just interesting that to me, I think is the number one concern I have with NSO. I know some people don't like that it's a subscription service. They'd rather buy the games and own them and, yada yada yada. Especially since Wii U stuff's going down soon. 3DS will be going down eventually. So will we. I think we already went down. So I understand that people worry about losing access. Of course, the bottom line is, once those shops are down and they get rid of the servers and you can't re-download them anymore, as soon as your Wii U dies, you lose access anyways. But the point is that it would be nice to know that if we're going to have a subscription service, that whatever we got on that service carries forward. Like with Xbox and PlayStation, when we got to PlayStation 5 and we got to Xbox Series, all those games you got through Xbox Live Gold and PSN, you could still play them right there on that next system. The backwards compatibility was not only there, but you didn't lose access to any of that content. And I think that's the number one thing I want to know that would make me probably stop being so critical of the game subscription service is not just, okay, we want consistent releases and consistent platforms added, but also, can we please know that we're not like a couple years away from just resetting the whole damn thing again? Because that would just suck. I basically don't play NSO games, not just because I don't want to replay, but there's even games that I wanted to play as a kid that I didn't, that are on NSO, and I'm not playing them because I'm not so sure that my save file and everything else is going to be on the next system, and I'll have to start all over again. I know you can just keep your Switch. I understand that, but I don't, I'm always moving forward. So when the next platform comes out, I'm probably slowly going to stop playing my Switch so much and just play on the next platform. The only thing that will keep me there is if there's no backwards compatibility, and there's no backwards compatibility at all. That's just, damn it. Right. That's a whole nother conversation, because subscription services and backwards compatibility are, I think, two different conversations. But as for the rest of NSO, obviously, if they keep adding DLC, that's cool. We have to have more DLC announced for us to really know what's going to happen. Like, what was the last DLC they announced? Like, in general, for any Nintendo-owned property, was it the Mario Kart? Was that the last DLC they announced? Mike, did they announce DLC since Mario Kart?
Not for the Nintendo Online membership. That's it.
No, but I mean for any of their major games that Nintendo controls.
Yeah, Xenoblade Chronicles 3 has the DLC.
Yes, you're right. Xenoblade Chronicles 3 does have DLC. That is correct, and that is not on Nintendo Switch Online.
It's not, no. Yeah.
No, so that would be new. That's not there.
Technically, Splatoon 3. They did say it would have DLC in the future.
Yeah, it did say it had DLC in the future, but obviously we don't know how that'll be handled yet.
Right.
Yeah.
But so technically they announced it has DLC
for but we don't know how that'll be handled. Right. Yeah,
but,
so there you go. I don't know, Mike, what do you think?
Did Nate finish with his thought, right?
No, I'm good. I was just wondering about if I knew how much, if they were going to add more DLC, or are they just done here, stuff like that. But yeah, go on.
So Nintendo Online, believe it or not, I love Nintendo Online. I really do. I love the basically having access to so many games. There's a lot of games out there. One can say they're adding little by little, but there are so many games. I'm pretty sure none of us here have played all those games. Like, we played some of the game. There are games that we have not even looked at, and we haven't even, right now, I'm looking here, just going over. There's with Wave Race now, it's 18 Nintendo 64 games. There's 55 Nintendo NES games, 29 Sega Genesis games. That was to me a surprise. Sega jumped in there. That opens the question: will we see another Sega console in there as well?
Dreamcast.
Yeah, I mean, it's possible. We're waiting on GameCube. And Dreamcast is what the across the street from GameCube.
Right.
Yeah. So yeah, I love Nintendo Online, and it's a massive library. I think it's like I got 163 games. That's what I came up with. And then, believe it or not, for the family plus expansion pack, it only comes up to $5 a month. Okay, with family.
That's if you max it out, right?
Yeah, family plus expansion pack. I just made the math. It's $70, $70 and change. It comes up to $5 a month. And look at all these games that you have access to. Okay, and then Nate, to answer your question about whether Nintendo Switch Online will be available in the next gen, Nintendo Switch Online has one word that tells you it will. online. It's not held on the console. It's online, and that's why when you go to the eShop, you have to download Nintendo Switch Online. It's like the app you download that's attached to all the games that are on the server. This is Nintendo subscription, and then when in that shareholder meeting, that thing that stuck out to me, that the CEO said that they were concentrated on over the 100 million accounts they have. They want to service those accounts. This is what they were talking about, Nintendo Online, and Nintendo Online accounts when it comes to not only the game services and stuff like that, but the 100 million Nintendo accounts. So the fact that Nintendo Switch Online is just an app that you download and it's a service you get, then it tells you, yeah, this is going to be available. It's not like Virtual Console where you have to pay for each game individually, and they set it up very nicely and they have divided all the consoles and everything. No, this is Nintendo Switch Online. Now, will they rename it Nintendo Online later on just so that can continue to push forward? Maybe.
There you go. That was the word that I was going to say. You said one word that would make it stay around. I was thinking all of a sudden you said that. Oh, wait a minute. It has the word Switch in it, so that might mean it might not stick around. Where if they changed it to Nintendo, so instead of NSO, they changed it to NOS, Nintendo Online Service.
There you go.
Then you'd be fine. But with the Switch in there, they're gonna probably have to do some rebranding with it. It doesn't mean that they won't. It won't go away.
Yeah, I can guarantee you that this won't go away just because it has the word Switch in it. It's just like you said, rebranding. Right now, the branding is Switch, you know,
which makes sense because Switch is massive. But
whenever it moves on, let's say they keep the branding, the Switch branding, because they came up with a console that they're going to continue on from now on, and every other console is going to be a Switch, and this tells us maybe okay,
that's possible too.
Switch 2, Switch 3, Switch 4, Switch 5, and they'll just continue to give us, like Nate said at one point, like they do with smartphones. They just kind of continue to gradually increase.
Iterative. Yep.
Very smart way to do it, believe it or not. You know, to gradually increase your console instead of giving us a complete next gen console, because this is what the OLED was. It was a gradually a gradual upgrade. Even if the internals were not, at least the display was. You know, for the handheld player, it was an upgrade. You know, and I first thing, the first question, I love Nintendo Online. Even if I don't play it all the time, I love the fact of knowing that it's there. I can go to it whenever I want. That's how I feel about Xbox Game Pass. That's how I feel about the PS5
PSN.
PSN, yeah. I signed up to all three of them, and I just like having access to them and just playing whenever I want without having to buy this game. You know what I mean? And it's of course you save a lot of money in games too, and this will be the thing going on. It has to do with Nintendo accounts. This is something that Nintendo I feel is going to move forward with. They couldn't do it before. They're doing it now. It's all online. This is the future. Every other console. It will be weird, right? It will be so weird that you see Xbox doing this and moving it from console to console, because it's just a service separate from the console. It's not part of the console. It's just a service.
No, it's just called Xbox Live or just called Game Pass. It's not Xbox Series Live or whatever.
Yeah, it's a service that you can get as part of being part of Xbox. You know, so it will be so weird that Nintendo. Okay, well, I'm gonna do. You know what? You do that. I'm gonna do about face. Whatever. Whenever next console start, I'm gonna completely scratch everything and start over again. That's something I really don't think they're gonna do. Like
What if I were to tell you they already did that?
But the thing is that this is different though. It's different.
How is it different when the Nintendo Network ID was a completely online system, and they literally had to merge them when they launched the NSO because the NSO was a completely separate online system. They already had their own online system. Now, maybe the branding wasn't that great. Call it Nintendo Network ID, whatever. Maybe that's not as catchy as Nintendo Online. But why couldn't you just change the branding? You didn't have to set up a whole new... I'm trying to point out, they already had an online system, and many people felt it was actually better than the NSO system. You didn't have to, as an example, use friend codes. You could just share account names like on every other platform. And you had a way to log in online and see your entire game library in a very, very convenient place. There wasn't all these separate applications and all this different stuff. It was actually much more streamlined, and they launched it with Wii U. But Wii U didn't sell well, and they decided, let's create a whole brand new online system. Like, this is the point I'm making is Nintendo already made an online system, and then they threw it away and did another one.
Because you could say the same thing about movie companies who make $100 million movies, just like they did with Batgirl just now.
But how is that like a subscription service?
But it's a reboot. It's a reboot of a service. For example, something didn't work out. They basically could take the Wii U and attach this. You know what? This didn't work out. We don't want people associating this.
But the network ID wasn't what didn't work.
Let me play a little bit of devil's advocate here for that. They probably, because it was attached to the Wii U, quote unquote.
But it wasn't. It literally didn't even have Wii U in the branding.
Yeah, but
they eventually brought it over. They also brought it over to 3DS eventually too.
Because it came out in that same time frame, it didn't have. I'm guessing it didn't have the same install base, user base.
75 million 3DSs.
But what was the actual like online subscribers at that point in time?
Well, they weren't charging money for it at the time. That's one of the big differences. Is it wasn't a money charge thing.
So part of me also though, just because again with the whole Wii U failing and things like that, maybe they also were, kind of associating, not necessarily on purpose, but they just kind of associated this kind of with the Wii U and went, well, that didn't work. Well, let's just redesign everything.
I just think
including that. And
but why would my thing is why would a company do that? Like Xbox One failed, they're not going to get rid of Xbox Live because Xbox One failed.
Let me ask this: because I didn't have that. I didn't have a 3DS and I didn't have a Wii U.
Sure.
So I'm completely unfamiliar with that. My prior console was the Wii.
Okay.
Okay.
Which didn't even have an online system.
But what I'm saying is, did they have a subscription service for the Wii U and for the 3DS that you had 160 games to play on? Once you played for that, then you have access to that, or did they have a system? A virtual console where you had access to retro games and you can buy them individually.
Well, yeah, they had virtual console. I don't know what that has to do. I don't know what that has to do with anything though.
It's not the same. It's not this.
When you pay for Xbox Live, you're paying so you can play games online, and now they happen to add extra services to that over time. Why couldn't they just add the game service to Nintendo Network ID?
Well, listen, they just eliminated a service like a virtual console. They eliminated that. If, for example, you have a Netflix account.
Sure.
You have an account, and then you have, let's say, an Amazon account, but not the music, not the Prime Video. You only have an Amazon account where you just buy movies. You buy selected movies, and you have your movie library on your Amazon account. They are not the same. They don't work the same.
Okay. Well, when I originally subscribed to Netflix, way back in the day when they were only a DVD service, my subscription just altered into a streaming service. I didn't actually tell Netflix to do that. They just added the service.
I understand, but this is something coming from somebody who works back end. I work the app that I manage the app store.
Sure.
So the infrastructure in the back end, when you're selling a game and when you're offering a subscription service, that is part of a structure.
Mike,
it's different things.
Has Apple ever rebooted their account system?
Listen.
From scratch.
No, they created a separate one called Apple Arcade.
Specifically for games. Yeah.
So what Nintendo did wasn't they created a different subscription service because this subscription service was going to make this one irrelevant. Why would you want to have Nintendo Virtual Console when Nintendo Switch Online is the same thing for you could argue a lesser value because you have a whole bunch of games. So what they did was remove the service of Virtual Console to give us Nintendo Switch Online. We didn't have Nintendo Switch Online. We had Virtual Console, which was a store where you had access to individual games. You didn't have access to a subscription of games like you have a subscription of movies like Netflix. So it is not the same thing. It's two different complete backs end when it comes to coding, when it comes to managing, when it comes to maintaining. So I can understand where Nintendo said, Virtual Console is something that, yes, was a great idea, but we are kind of worried that because we presented this with the 3DS and the Wii U, people might associate it too much with this brand. And even if content creators like yourself who are knowledgeable about how things work with Nintendo and stuff don't do that, there are people out there that still will associate it with the brand. So what they wanted to do is a complete reboot with Nintendo Switch Online. That's what they did. They rebranded everything. They rebooted everything into a new system, just like they did with the Wii U and the Switch. The Wii U and the Switch are basically same, but not the same. The Switch is an upgraded version of the Wii U. They presented the handheld play and the dock play with the Wii U. They perfected it with the Switch. That's what they did with Nintendo, whatever, Virtual, and that's what they're doing now with Nintendo. They perfected it with Switch Online for some people, because some people, of course, they prefer to buy their individual games on Virtual Console. It's not that they're the same thing, because they're not.
I think we're talking about two entirely separate things. Virtual Console never had anything to do with Nintendo Network ID. You bought games the same way you bought them on the eShop. It's like saying they. And by the way, they carried forward the eShop branding. They didn't just dump the eShop branding. They kept that. They dumped Nintendo Network ID, which all it was an account system. That's all it was. It was just an account system. It wasn't anything else. All it was a way to add friends and talk to people, went through Miiverse and stuff like that. It was just an account system. That's all it was. And the promise when they released the account system is that it would be the only Nintendo account system you need. When they launched it, this is it. This is all you need. And then they rebooted it, scrapped it, got rid of it. You had to create an entirely new account for Nintendo Switch when it came out. Literally from the get-go. You got to remember, this was the entire account system for Nintendo, and they scrapped the whole damn thing. Now, NSO is a service. I get that NSO itself is a service, and that's fine in that of itself, but the NSO wouldn't have replaced the Nintendo Network ID. It would have been like Game Pass. It would have just been an additional service that you could pay for optionally if you want. But Nintendo scrapped that entire service. The reason that we're talking about the rebooting of games, obviously, is because, on Wii U, you had to rebuy the games again, if you didn't want to play them in the Wii mode. Obviously, on 3DS, if you had games that were the same between, you had to rebuy. So, that's the old Virtual Console system. We're not on that now. We're on a subscription service system. Yeah. Well, the point I'm bringing up is that Nintendo rebooted their entire online account system already when it only ran for a single generation. What's to say they're not going to reboot everything all over again? That's what I'm speaking from a cynic point of like Nintendo's constantly been rebooting everything. What makes us think this is different?
What I said was that it's not what I was explaining is that that's exactly what I was talking about. I wasn't talking about games I was talking about the system itself, like the actual system that Nintendo had in place for the Wii U and for the 3DS. The system where how they manage their accounts, how they manage their IDs, how they manage the users, the user base account, right? Didn't work for what Nintendo has now. It's a completely different.
How didn't it work? NSO didn't exist when Switch launched, and yet their account system was rebooted.
Their account system was completely different, and it didn't work for the plan they had, and that's why they had to redo it. Companies do this all the time, and we're not aware of that. Companies.
That's why I said, Mike, you work at Apple. They've never rebooted the Apple account system. They've kept it. They added extra like Apple Arcade and other things, but the base Apple account that I signed up for back on the iPhone 3 is the same account I have today. But Nintendo got rid of it. They said, nope, you have an account, we're done with it. Now you got to make a new account, like you never owned a Switch or never owned another platform before.
Because they haven't had to do that because they perfected it from the very beginning. So when you perfect, for example, if I have a service, and I have an account where I create a system where I have users come, and I see that there's a better way to get these users over there and structure everything, but I can't find a way to transition because believe it or not, neither you or I are developers. We're not developers. We don't know how I can manage websites. You can manage websites. We know HTML. We know Java because that's just managing websites kind of. But when it comes to developing a system, a user base, what they use to manage accounts. Like for example, I have no clue how the app store works. I just manage it.
Yeah,
but
sure,
I don't know.
sure.
I don't know the mechanics. I don't know I don't know what genius sat down and built the code for it.
Sure,
right.
sure, yeah.
In order for it to work. But so that's what I'm saying. There are two different platforms. There are two different systems that maybe there was way too much. It was easier to actually start over than to continue. And in my opinion, I feel like they did a great job. It's a success. Nintendo
So
Online.
you think Nintendo's account system today is better than their old one? No, to be fair, you didn't use their old one, so you don't have the knowledge, obviously.
Yeah, but for me personally, I actually have a Wii U, okay, and I created an account before it all closed down. I like the Switch better. I like the current account better. But this is all a matter of opinion because if I like it and you don't, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. So I love the new system better. To me, it's a lot better to manage, to handle. Maybe you have a different opinion from the other one, and that's okay. I respect that. And it's
the fact you have to use friend codes when Nintendo said they would never bring friend codes back is to me a huge problem.
It doesn't really bother me. Friend codes, it doesn't really. It's not an issue. If you want to have friends, if friends want to be your friends, they'll get your friend code, they'll add it, and you move on with your day. It's not a big issue. Friend codes is not a big issue.
If you do not use the Nintendo Switch app and I'm out with friends, I can't share my gamer tag with them. I don't have my friend code memorized. I know my gamer tag on every platform, and I can share my Steam gamer tag, I can share my Xbox, I can share my PlayStation. No problem, because it's a gamer tag. But if I want them to befriend me on Switch, it's like, no, give me your phone number, which maybe you're not comfortable giving to me because we just met. And you know what? We'll text each other later when I figure out what my friend code is. That's the problem with friend codes. They're actually not easy to share with other people that you meet in real life. That's why no other company uses friend codes. Nintendo's the only one that uses a randomly generated code that you need to share with people that become friends. Now, I will give them some credit. They added this way to copy it from the app. This is why I said this is a recent update. They updated the Nintendo Switch app to let you actually copy paste your friend code out of it, because before you couldn't even copy paste it. You could look it up, but then you had to screenshot it if you wanted to share. So that I will admit that is obviously an improvement they are making. But to me, looking at this, I look at this from the consumer side, and I feel like Apple probably did as well, where they said, we don't want people having to re-sign up for accounts again. You should just be able to carry your account forward to the next platform. And Apple probably decided that very early on. Nintendo promised us that that's how it was going to be early on with Wii U, but then obviously they didn't, and Switch came out and they said, nope, now you can connect these accounts online and try to transfer information between them, and that was really, really messy. But we're just going to reboot the account system and go back, kind of went backwards, to the way it worked on 3DS and Wii U, DS and Wii U, where you were sharing friend codes. And now NSO is obviously a service. Services are kind of their own thing. NSO is kind of like Apple Arcade. It's independent of your Nintendo account. Your Nintendo account is what the Nintendo Network ID is. NSO is kind of like their, I don't know, even on Xbox, Xbox Live, I guess would be kind of like NSO because you pay to access online gameplay. But your Xbox account is just a Microsoft account system. It's just literally goes through the same account system they use with Outlook and everything else. That's how Nintendo rebooted the entire account system. I don't think that launching a subscription service couldn't have been patched into the old account system. And I know there might be some negative things that people might attach to it, but when only 13 million Wii U's were sold, let's just be honest, when you say Wii U to Nintendo Switch owners, most of them don't even know what the hell you're talking about.
Right. And that's kind of where I had a couple of things too. One, you said, the Xbox One kind of flopped. Why would you get rid of Live? Well, it was proven it worked pretty well on the 360. So just because
they used it all the way back on the original Xbox.
Right. It was a proven concept at that point when it failed.
Sure.
When the system failed.
And it's a little unfair with Microsoft too, because they were an established computer company, really huge with an account system in place forever.
But I just wanted to point that out too, because it had already been established as a pretty well working thing when the one system failed. So no, obviously you know that the Xbox Live is a well working system, where this other the Nintendo side, it was kind of a new system still, and with the new the Wii U flopping, maybe they kind of, like I said, attributed wrongly attributed it with the flop of the, to get rid of it with the Wii U.
Yeah.
The other thing too is also, like you said, it was free to use, and maybe they just thought that they would have such an uprising on their hands if they all of a sudden started trying to shoehorn, now all of a sudden we're asking you to pay for something that was already, established as free. So and two.
How did they avoid that when you could play online for free for 2 years on Switch and then they started charging? It was like it's almost worse.
Yes, but
there was, by the way, there was backlash over it when
Right.
NSO first came
Right.
out. Like, what do you mean I can't play Mario Kart online right now without a subscription?
right. So
Those are early days.
yeah, right. So it's another one of those things that maybe they thought they couldn't shoehorn in charging for this already established free thing, so they decided to create this new thing.
Sure.
And it ended up being worse. And also, my last and final point, it's Nintendo and online. We've already established that they don't know what the fuck they're doing. So there is that.
I don't know that they don't know what the F they're doing. They're just not as experienced as obviously high tech companies like Apple or Microsoft.
Right.
Sony, who's been involved in laptop making and other stuff in the past. Obviously, Nintendo is like, hey, our experience in this field is we make video games. We haven't really dabbled in the other areas. We never tried making a phone. We never had a Nintendo computer. So they're obviously a lot more raw at the online game, and it shows. That being said, by the way, guys, the disagreements between me and Mike aren't a big deal. This is actually kind of cool. I haven't had a disagreement in a long time, so it's kind of it's kind of nice. We're all good. It's a friendly conversation.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And I don't even consider disagreement. It's their opinions,
Yeah, right.
It's not
Exactly.
Yeah, we're
Yeah,
talking
yeah.
about preferences.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah. It's not a disagreement at all. It's a one person likes this better than the other.
As an
Yeah.
example, I think that there's a legitimate fear to be worried that NSO will be rebooted on the next system. Mike doesn't think that's going to happen.
Listen to me. I will shave my head, my eyebrows, my beard, my whole body hair if this goes away with the next console.
Well, I don't need proof from anything from the waist down, so you're good there.
Hey, I have a sponsorship from Manscaped coming up. I can send you some stuff.
There you go.
To help you take care of some business.
By the way, this video is sponsored by Manscaped because I lost. no, but
Well, he's pulling the Jeff Grubb. The Jeff Grubb who said he would shave his head if Metro Prime Remaster doesn't come out this holiday. And now Mike, I think, is making even a bolder
Shaving
bet.
everything.
He's a bolder bet. He's betting for pro-consumer online moves by Nintendo, which has never happened in the history of the company. So I am very, very interested to see this bet because I kind of want to see No Hair Mike. It's gonna be it's a new universe.
Right.
It's a new universe. No Hair Mike.
Yeah.
not a bad look. But
It's not a bad look. Says the sexiest man in Florida. All right.
Nintendo did what they did with Wii. They perfected the dock / handheld. They made one console to reign overall. They finally got their online service with their subscription service where they offer games. And I think this library, no matter what it's called now or called tomorrow, it's still gonna be the same subscription service. You'll get your NES games, your SNES games, your 64. They're gonna add GameCube and all that stuff. That's not going anywhere. I can tell you that from here, 10 years from now, it's still gonna be here. It's probably gonna be better, and we're probably gonna have Wii and all those other added later on. But I don't think it's gonna go anywhere. I could smell and I could sense a finished platform or a finished vision when I see one. The other
Thought you were saying you could smell what the Rock is cooking.
That too.
listen, the other one, the virtual console and the other account system, even though it had its strengths and it had its weaknesses, okay, and maybe they didn't merge all the strengths over to the new one like they should have, it's still a subscription service that's been perfected over the prior one. Yeah, you can't buy each game individually, but you end up saying by having all at once. You know what I mean? So yeah. no eyebrows, and no
Yeah.
facial hair. He said, you're just writing it on the chat to make sure it's
Yeah, because they said, oh, if he shaved his head, no one would know because he wears a hat. And I'm like, that's not the only part that's going away.
Right.
Just so you
Eyebrows,
know.
beard.
Just say, he said
You gotta
all
pull,
body
you
hair.
gotta pull all your eyelashes. I'm kidding.
He's doing a whole body
No.
wax. I have no idea.
well, you guys are gonna be from here to up.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, so no beard mic, no goatee mic, no.
Again, it would be the next generation of Mike Odyssey's channel.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess we'll find out whether or not they're going to keep this, whether or not the next generation is called Nintendo Switch too.
Yeah, that's another thing too. Like if they call it Switch, then I mean it'd be really weird if they didn't bring NSO forward on a platform that has Switch in the name.
Right.
But again, we'll see. We've obviously no idea what Nintendo's plans are moving forward.
I could also see a rebrand. Like I said,
I do want to bring up something quick before we sign out. There's a rumor floating out there, and I haven't made a video on it yet because I'm still doing some research on it. But apparently there's some data somewhere, some sort of data mine that is suggesting that what a Pro or whatever it might be, Switch 2, that there's some sort of more powerful platform might be just something you put under your TV and that's it. You can't take it with you. But I'm still researching it, so I'm not ready to make a video on it yet because I got to make sure there's enough tangible proof there since it's supposedly a data leak.
So I can see how it would work if, for example, what they were talking about was an external CPU and GPU, you know, where all of the power wouldn't be on the handheld part of it. Once you dock it, then that'll kick in to give you better graphics, better, you know, and then you can't play certain games in that quality unless you dock it, because you don't really need that much power when you're, you know, for graphics because, you know, the screen is smaller and stuff. But I don't think Nintendo will go back to just the unless they just
I don't know that it would be like the Switch. To me, this feels like it would be kind of like the Lite. You have the Lite that you take only with you, and then this is the Pro that's just a box you put under your.
True.
You only dock. But then it'll be a new form factor.
Yeah. Well, technically, I mean, Lite was a little bit of a new form factor, just because you can dock it. But
it's a Switch with that removable Joy-Cons and smaller.
So a new form factor.
They just build the system into the dock.
Yeah. When I drop the Switch Lite, the whole thing breaks, not just the controllers.
Yeah.
I mean, I have one right there. It's called the NES. I don't have to dock it or anything. It's you know.
You also have the world's only Nintendo Switch Lite OLED.
I do. It's back there.
Is that video still coming, or did it come out and I missed it?
No, it hasn't come out yet.
Okay. Okay. I thought I might have missed it because I don't catch every daily episode because I'm too busy with my own stuff.
Yeah, man. Daily episodes are tough now.
You got to tell me. I mean, I'm doing it full time. Like it's my job now, and it's still hard to do daily content.
But I found my sweet spot where I can actually release Monday to Friday videos, and also on the weekends do special videos from the ones different from the week.
Do you do your videos for the next day or the night before?
I do. I do my videos. Yesterday's news for today.
Yeah. I know. That's why I was asking if you do it. Yeah. If you make it the night before to go up, or do you do it the morning of?
Yeah, what I do, I wake up in the morning around 6 o'clock in the morning. Okay. I still wake up that early anyway.
Sure, yeah.
I just do my research that morning. If I see anything that came out that day or recently, and then I do my research that same morning, so make sure I have the most up to date information rather than the actual day before.
Yeah. I thought you might have did it in the morning because you had a story. Gosh, I can't remember. Maybe it was when I don't know. There was some story that I remember I saw in one of your videos, and I was like, dude, that story happened today. That wasn't yesterday.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
But it's because it happened super early in the morning before you had recorded, obviously. Yeah.
And I mix and match stories. If there's something that happened yesterday that I want to talk about, for the news, I'll just put it in there.
You know what I like about your videos now?
Yeah.
And I noticed this in the one you did today. Man, I probably should have noticed it because you have that little intro you do where you explain, hey, I do this, 5 days a week and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I like that you're like, dude, I take the 3 biggest stories. That's all I'm doing.
Yeah, man.
I'm not packing 5, 8, 10, 12. I don't care how many stories happen. It's only the 3 biggest.
Yeah.
I like that.
Nice.
Yeah, it's because it just makes it so much easier, man, and it makes the videos
More
so much shorter.
manageable.
My retention has gone up. So, like for example, the yesterday's video has been the like it blew up. Yesterday I was like, man, all worried because I only got 100 views, but then today it went up to almost. Let's see, we are at 2,000, almost 2,100, and then that's the video that got the most subscribers ever. 58 subscribers
Yesterday?
and
Nice.
yeah, in that one video, I'm like, what the heck? And then today's video, 20 more. And I'm like, okay, so the algorithm is actually catching up to my daily news thing, and people are actually liking the fact. And I think because I did that little commercial part, right?
Yeah,
between-
that intro. I like that little intro that you put in. Are you going to keep that in all of them, or are you just gonna?
yeah, that's the template that I created, and I just insert it into my timeline whenever I do my intro. I insert that, and then I do the rest of the video. So that's
Okay.
gonna be the same exact thing every time that I do my.
You guys hearing a little behind the scenes YouTube stuff, huh?
Yeah.
Because I'm starting to notice Mike's views are starting to top my videos. I told you were going to grow faster than me.
I just had to find a groove, man, because I was just struggling to find out what I was gonna do, when I was gonna do it. And I just stuck with news because it's easier. It's more exciting to be in the moment. You know what I mean?
I love news, man. People always say, like, they were giving me all these ideas for other videos. I'm like, I want you to retrospect. I just don't have any. I don't like retrospectives. So why would I make them?
I don't know what that is though. What's retrospective?
It's where you look back on a game or a franchise like from the past.
I see a lot of videos like that.
Yeah, and I'm just not into that. So
Yeah.
like,
You've clearly
it's
stated
cool.
multiple times on here that you do not play old games.
No. Well, to be fair, a retrospective, you don't have to go back because it could be games I've already
Right.
played in the past.
Yeah.
And just revisit, like Secret of Mana. People would probably love if I did like a retrospective on all the reasons that I really love that game or whatever. And that's cool. But I don't like watching retrospectives. So
Yeah.
the process of creating one doesn't feel very like it has to be a balance of what I am interested in combined with what the audience wants. And that's one of those where the balance is too far skewed to audience really wants this, but I hate this content.
Yeah.
I can't hate it.
There's that.
And I do like what you've been doing with the news. I also noticed that you've come up with your own little thumbnail template. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. And that's gonna be the template from now on. Like because I'm learning, dude. I'm just going online and looking at.
You're
different
learning
people.
faster than me, and I've been doing this longer.
But the thing, I get emails from YouTube creator. It says follow what works. So I just go to the bigger channels. And see, what the heck are you doing? That's working. And I see that all their templates are the same thing. Their thumbnails are the same. Their videos are the same. It's like the same thing, different clips, different stories, but the same exact thing. Like everything, nothing changes. Like how they start a video, same way. They just say it's in different things. The middle is the same thing. They just say something different, and like that. So, okay, I'll just create my own little script. I'm unscripted, but I'll create my own little script. Here, I'll do my intro. I'll create a video that stays there forever that tells me, okay, subscribe. This is what the channel do. Because giving people information is important because they say, oh, Monday through Friday. I think that's what drove the subscriptions so high because Monday through Friday, I presented it like visually because people have a short attention span.
Yes, visual representation helps. Yep.
You have to switch what you're showing on your screen at least every 6 to 10 seconds.
Yeah.
It can't be the same thing. So even if you do a little close up, that works. Even if you do a little close
just changing, making something visually happen. Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm just following a template and that I created to do the videos, and then I leave my Fridays. It's Monday, Thursday, like Fridays is the same exact news, Odyssey news, but that I give it to myself. Like, okay, this is my treat. I'm gonna talk about whatever I want, just like they with that.
That Zelda topic. Yeah.
So that on Fridays it's gonna be just like a video like that. Then on weekends I do the products because like this weekend I'm gonna do that big giant screen thingy, and then do other products too because my followers they love product stuff and I don't want to take that away from them. So on the weekends I do that, but I film them on Friday night so I can I still have Friday, Saturday and Sunday off for the family.
See, folks, and this is why I need to hire Mike. Not just because I can't. I guess I can come up with a template and try to get. Now that I'm doing it full time, I can have like I'm release my videos around a consistent time, and let's say I do news, so every day I'll do like I don't know, say the 5 biggest stories. I don't want to copy the 3.
Yeah,
we'll say like the five biggest stories or whatever. There'll always be 5, right?
Yeah.
Even if they're not that big, let's say it's just about an indie game. Hey, indie game news made it in today because that's the biggest news that we had. That's cool. And the thing is though, like, isn't that like your thumbnails?
What happened?
You could tell that you have a background in actually like image work. Like you went to college, because I can't make things that nice.
Dude, it's not hard.
I just can't do it.
Listen, Google. I said that right now.
Google.
I'm like, I was gonna say something, but it wouldn't come out. Like, what the heck am I saying?
So Google.
So Google. Yep. Got it. Google.
Google YouTube thumbnail backgrounds. Okay. YouTube thumbnail backgrounds. You're gonna get a whole bunch of and then click on images. Then on there, you're gonna see a whole bunch of backgrounds to select. And the main thing is the text on the image. Don't put more than 3 words on it. I've been
told that before. Yeah.
And then big bold letters. Arrows work. If you put arrows
everywhere. But yeah, they do work. They do work.
And then you have to have an object that is trending. And right now, what is trending on YouTube the most and hasn't stopped trending is the Nintendo Switch OLED. So you have to have a Nintendo Switch OLED if you're gonna talk about N64 games. I mean, look at our friend over at Sunbro Nations. It's the same exact thing. He does big bold text, or sometimes even 1 word, and then he'll have the Switch OLED. It's always a Switch OLED.
I'm known for my dumb 1 word ones. Yeah.
Yeah, and then a Switch OLED, and then inside the Switch OLED, whatever you're talking about. So it's all a matter of just kind of giving people what they want to see. What's appealing to their eyes. Oh, I like this. Click. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I've been learning over the past week. I'm not an expert. I'm just to share what I've learned over the past weeks. Like if you asked me this 3 weeks ago, I could tell you nothing at all. I might be like, what?
What? Huh? What happened?
But yeah, it's been working. I just found the rhythm. Early morning. It's less stressful when you take some stories, the best stories that you like, and the you think that they're gonna like, and then just put it all together, top 3 stories, and then just talk about them there. It comes to a point where you pick the 3 stories already. You see a story today, oh my god, I want to talk about it tomorrow, and you get excited for tomorrow because you can't wait to talk about that, And then that's gonna be the first topic in my news. I talk about that for about 2 minutes, 3 minutes, and then I move on to the next really fast, And I don't give myself more than 3 minutes per topic. Make sure that my videos are 8 minutes and below. That way my retention rate goes up and YouTube promotes the video outward.
Cool. Well, we can continue this conversation after.
Behind the scenes.
You guys got a little behind the scenes stuff. This is basically what we talk about as soon as the podcast ends.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Anyways, guys, thank you guys so much for tuning in to episode 63. I'll let you guys go here. Be sure to subscribe and like Mike Odyssey's channel and all of his content. He's blowing up. I knew he would.
Mm-hmm.
I knew he would. And then because you know why I knew Mike would blow up? Because he wanted to. So he's working at it. And working at it. And working at it. Sometimes it's all it takes. Dedication.
Mm-hmm.
Anyways, setting that aside, you can obviously find the podcast everywhere podcasts are heard, and you can obviously find it at the Nintendo Prime Podcast YouTube channel, which I appreciate if you guys would subscribe to. Memberships, you can support us at patreon.com/Nintendo Prime, or you don't have to, because we'll always deliver the content to you absolutely for free. I will never paywall the podcast. All right, guys. You guys have a good rest of your day, your evening, your nights, whenever you're listening to it, your workouts, whatever you're doing, and we will catch you later.
Peace.